Hello, everybody. Please like and subscribe. Comment below. If you don't subscribe, you support the Blues. Those are the rules. I didn't write them, but that's the way it is. So please subscribe, or else you want to be down St Andrews every week. And who the hell wants to go and see Wayne Rooney's team lose to Rotherham and Sheffield Wednesday and teams like that? Anyway, Nicolo Zaniolo, that seems to be a heavy topic of discussion. I brought this up a few weeks ago on this very channel, on this very podcast, and I will repeat exactly what I said a few weeks ago. It takes players time to adapt to a new league, a new culture. Some people could just walk in and do the job immediately. Let's say Harry Kane going to Germany, or Jude Bellingham going to Germany or Spain. Fine, great. Nicolas Zaniolo, he's gone from Italy to Turkey to the Premier League. Culturally, it's a massive leap for him. He's still very young. On top of that, it's a whole new way of playing. And the Premier League is a very physical, unforgiving, fast-paced league. Of course, Serie A is physical. Turkey's physical. But yeah, the Premier League, I think it is a league in which you probably get a bit less time than you would in other places. So it's going to take time to adapt. And everybody reacts in different ways. He's clearly a very talented guy. He was very good at Roma. He was very good at Galatasaray. He hasn't had the best time at Villa so far. He started kind of well. He looked good. It looked like somebody who just needs a goal. He's come very close to scoring goal of the season about 3 times. Looks like somebody who just needs a goal. And if one goes in, I think his confidence levels will go up and suddenly he'll exert himself in a way that shows his full ability and full talent. Juan Pablo Angel struggled when he started at Villa. Yon Duran didn't have the fastest start last season. Sometimes it just happens. And, I wouldn't say it's been, I wouldn't say I've seen online Villa fans killing the guy, because that's generally not what's happening from what I can tell. I think most people have been, most people worth listening to have been very reasonable and fair-minded on, what's happening with him. He didn't have a good game at Bournemouth. He looked a bit off the pace and he got a booking. So he had to come off at half time because you couldn't risk it with that booking. But you got to be patient with the guy. Let him work his way in. He's working with Unai Emery. So, what better manager in the world to work with than him? Just be patient. Let's not get on his back, and eventually the goal will come. I'm sure it will. And then we can go from there. Anyway, aside from that, Man City and Arsenal are coming to Villa Park. Wow, wowzers. Whoop-de-doo. How terrifying. I spoke to David Mooney, the host of the Blue Moon podcast, a fantastic person. And Blue Moon podcast is an amazing, inspirational product. I can't believe what he's able to produce on there. It is amazing. Fully deserving of an award that it's won. But with Man City, we talked about it, and Heath said to me that Man City have been caught on the break in transitions, particularly in the Champions League. And I'm inclined to think that's probably how Villa are going to score. Man City are probably going to be the more ball-dominant side, which is not something that we've been used to seeing from away teams at Villa Park, particularly this season, and largely since Unai Emery came into the club. I think Villa should be aggressive. I think we should be confident that we can still play the high line, still retain the ball, probably more so than we normally have done against Manchester City. But the probably is just, possession tells, doesn't it? And at some point, they probably are going to force us back for spells of the game. What does that mean? Well, it means that Akanji, if he plays, or perhaps Ake or Stones, who was on the bench the other day, if Stones comes back in, he's going to be the centre-back who comes into midfield. If Akanji plays, it's going to be him, right? What it does mean, though, is that in transition, Villa, if we can beat their immediate press, or if we can win the ball back off them high up, or close to our defence, there is a way we can win, that we can send a ball in quickly into, say, a Leon Bailey or a Moussa Diaby or an Ollie Watkins. But I would like to think more so outright, get the ball out there, see what happens if the space to run into, and then pull it back, and there's Watkins or a midfielder coming in like a Douglas Luiz or a John McGinn. Transitions are going to be the way, I think, against City. Stopping them is going to be very, very hard. We've been helped by the prospect that Doku might be injured, Jack Grealish is suspended, and especially Rodri is suspended. That's a massive loss. They have not played well without him this season. I'm not saying, I can see City turning up. They break our high line and they win 2-0, 3-1. And that's just the way it is with that team. They are unbelievable. They are conceding a lot of goals at the moment, though. 4 to Chelsea recently away, 3 at the weekend against Tottenham, 2 last week against Leipzig, 1 against Liverpool. They're not defending particularly well. It's a bit chaotic. But Stones might be back. If he is, that makes a big difference. But is he going to be fully up to speed? Probably not. But look, we are going to face a lot of pressure. Bernardo Silva's incredible. I think he'll be, to me, he's the player I fear most from City. But if Villa can just withstand that pressure, and if we can hit them in the transitions, particularly with a Diaby or a Bailey finding some space, I think that might make a big difference. And on top of that, if John McGinn starts out on the right, I said the same thing against Tottenham a few weeks ago, though he started on the left in that game. But when he starts on the right against teams that play a high line like City do, McGinn is a great asset because not only can he hassle the opposition team, but also when he turns and finds space, his whipped ball in behind with his left foot can be a real, real asset. And that particularly applies to Ollie Watkins, who will be on the left-hand side most likely and able to make them runs. It's not going to be easy with Kyle Walker there with all his pace and physicality. Trying to beat him is going to be very, very difficult. But I do think Villa can cause chaos for City. I think particularly with Rodri not there, I'm interested to see who they stick in there. And if Doku and Grealish are both out, again, I'm kind of interested to know who they put out there on the left. It's hard to tell. Playing City is really difficult. Every time I watch them, I think, how on earth do you take this team on? Because when they press, it's almost impossible to know which player is going to press first. But I think we are catching them at the moment in a spell where City they're in a transitional phase. They've gone a bit from their kind of last season when they were just demolishing everybody. It was a controlled team. Right now, they're missing a lot of players from that spell where they just went on and did the treble. Rodri's not there, obviously, but Kevin De Bruyne is not there. Grealish is not there. He's not been playing as much this season, and he was a massive part of them controlling games last season. Doku's come in, who is a little bit more of a I would say, a little less of a Guardiola player than you'd think. He's a bit more of will take a player on, might lose it, might gamble, and the ball gets turned over, and then you can go on go on the transition and hit them. And his tracking back might not be as strong as some other players. Not to say that his tracking back isn't good. It is decent. But yeah, I think I'm intrigued to see what City do. Again, just thinking of some of the players who aren't there. John Stones as well, particularly. He's been a big loss for them this season with his injury. But they're there to be got at. We're probably not going to have a better chance, really, of doing something to them than we will do on Wednesday night. Like I say, City are unbelievable. Guardiola's unbelievable. He has an amazing record against Unai Emery. And on top of that, they've played a lot of games in quick succession. So Villa, Thursday night, Warsaw, tough game. Bournemouth away, another tough game where we had to fight to the end. And again now, Wednesday night, with that looming mental cloud of Arsenal also appearing on Saturday. It's a big ask. But this team keep doing the job, don't they? And I believe in Villa. I fully believe he can do something to City. Let me know what you think. What do you predict? On top of that, we've got Arsenal coming on Saturday. Now, Arsenal's an interesting one. I would back Villa against Arsenal more so than City, just because City, they're just I think they're the best team in the world. But Arsenal, an interesting one because again, they're very, very good. Exceptional, to be honest, a lot of their players. Arteta's done an amazing job, but again, I think they can be got at. And what's happening with Arsenal a lot this season is that they seem to be taking a lead, but then they're not quite putting teams away. Happened against Wolves the other day. I watched it. They were on 2-0 up within 10, 15 minutes, battering Wolves. And I thought, gee, Whizzlers, Wolves are not going to come out of this in one piece. It's going to be brutal. But in fairness, they kept going, kept plugging away. It's a stereotype there, cliche, sorry, plugging away, but they did and got a goal. They got the goal through putting Zinchenko under pressure. And I think that is one route that Villa should look at. Personally, Professor Unai, of course, with his clipboard, knows exactly what the hell he's going to do. But just watching Arsenal this season, here's what I would do if I could imagine. If I was playing Football Manager against them, what would I do? Double up on Saka and Martinelli. Those two players pull you out wide, right? Stretch the pitch, cling to the byline. It's really hard to stop them. They are fantastic wingers, brilliant players. But if you double up on them, it makes it harder, doesn't it? And if we double up on them with, say, a Ramsey might come back and help a Luca Dean or Moreno who's there marking them. Or if you've got out on the right, say, a McGinn comes back and helps Cash. Or maybe Cash comes back and helps a Konsa if he goes that route with Cash at right or Konsa at right back and Cash ahead of him. Whatever way he does it, Professor Unai, doubling up on those wingers and trying to stop them breaking through and hurting us is probably one way forward. On top of that, what tends to happen with Arsenal is that Saka will get the ball. Ben White can undercut or overlap him, or if it's not Ben White, say a Tomiyasu, they can overlap or undercut. Again, it's hard to stop it. But if you doubled up, one of you can double with Saka, one of you can take that fullback, trying to overlap. But what also happens is that Saka will get the ball, and if he can't beat his man, he'll pull it back to Odegaard. Odegaard live is one of the best players I've seen in years. What a player. I almost would be tempted to say, if Arsenal are in possession, tell one of our players to man mark Odegaard. Just get right next to him. Don't allow him space. Easier said than done. But if you just make it hard for him, man mark him, double up on them wingers, you might cause them, you might disrupt their build-up. Now, of course, we've got Declan Rice as well, who's unbelievable. But one thing I do think is that, if Zinchenko plays, if you put him under pressure when he's on the ball, he's not been great this season when that's happened to him. And also, do you remember last season when we lost 4-2 to them? But there was a spell of that game where it was 2-2 going into the 80th minute. Bailey and Yonduran both had occasions where they got him behind on that right-hand side because Zinchenko was pushing forward to try and get the winner. If Villa are in a situation like that, I think that gap will open up again, particularly if the inverted wing is coming forward. And Bailey, in the form he's in this season, or Moussa Diaby, manages to find space. And think of Diaby when he found that space against Legia Warsaw the other night. Ran up, cut in, goal. I think there's goals to be had in that way. But I think Villa-Arsenal, it's at the end of a really tough physical spell. So I'm not sure how full-paced either side is going to be, but it has the potential to be a really, really exciting game for a neutral, again, like it was last season. And I think we can do something to them, like I think we can do something to City. It's going to be really bloody hard against both of them. We could come out of it with 2 losses, could come out of it with a draw and a loss, could come out of it with a win and a loss, or who knows, a win and a draw or 2 wins. I mean, look, really hard. But I believe in this team. I believe in Professor Unai, and I can't wait to see what we do against both sides. I'll try and get somebody on to talk about Arsenal this week. But other than that, like I say, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching and subscribing. Let me know what you think. Up the mighty Villa.